vertical figure eights mainly explores the power of up and down movement. We are still going to be using some side to side, so you want to make sure that the stance you use isn't so high that you can't turn, but it's not so big that it stresses your knees or your ankles. I'll be exploring this from the horse stance, so I get a lot more power with up and down. The figure eight we'll be utilizing in this exercise is similar to the figure eight you might draw in your checkbook when you're balancing it. I'm not talking about balancing it on your head. I'm going to start with the right hand, so I'll put the right hand on the top of the figure eight, and just to show you externally, when the right hand reaches the right shoulder, it's going to change directions and angle down to the left hip. From there, it's going to cross over to the right hip and then angle up to the left shoulder. Then it's going to cross back to the right shoulder. Now remember, I want my body leading the hand, so as the hand goes to the left, my hips and shoulders are going to turn to the left. When the hand moves to the right, my hips and shoulders turn to the right. Body weight moving over to the left leg, body weight moving to the right leg. For the breathing, I'm going to exhale as I empty my balloon, and then I'm going to inhale as I fill the balloon. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. I'll bring my right hand to the hip so that I can then focus on the left hand. So I'm going to start with the left hand in front of me. Notice without the body, it draws a very small circle over to the shoulder, down to the hip, cross to the other hip, up to the shoulder. As I add the turning and the sinking, you'll notice that the figure eight becomes larger. Same breathing pattern. Out through the mouth as I empty the balloon, in through the nose as I fill the balloon. You can then return your hand back to your hip, bring your feet back together, and shake it out. You just did about 20 squats right there. Now we're going to move on to the brain teaser of the knife edge of the vertical figure eights. This is going to be both hands moving in opposite directions. In this case, my right hand is going to be drawing a figure eight, and my left hand is going to be drawing the same figure eight. They're both going to be moving at the same time. So I'm going to go back to my horse stance. In this case, I'm going to start with both my hands on top of the eight. It's going to move out to the shoulders. I'll sink as the hands move to the opposite hips. That crosses my hands. I'm going to uncross the hands, and then I'm going to rise as I cross the hands again. I'll separate the hands and then cross as I exhale. Separate and then cross as I inhale. Breathing out through the mouth. Breathing in through the nose. Make sure that as you rise, you don't lock out your knees. Keep them a little bit bent still. And when you're done, you can put your hands on your hips, shake it out of your body, shake it out of your head. That can be a hard one to follow along with. If you have a hard time, just follow along. You'll be able to catch back up, try to pick out your timing. Once you've been doing it for a while, you'll look back and go, why was that so complicated? Just some new coordination your body has to figure out. Leading the vertical figure eight with the ridge hand is almost the same as leading it with the knife edge. It is going to utilize the muscles in the shoulder and the forearm slightly different, and you'll feel that when we get into it. We'll start again with the right hand, mainly because most people are right-handed, so that's going to help you follow along a little bit easier. I'm going to utilize this horse stance still, and I'm going to start with my right hand again at the top of the figure eight. It'll give me a similar reference point to what I used with my knife edge. This time, though, instead of dropping the figure eight down this way, I'm going to lead towards the thumb. It's going to go over to the left shoulder first. Then it's going to angle down to the right hip. Then it'll move over to the left hip. And then angle up to the right shoulder. Again, getting the body to follow. My hips and shoulders turn to the left. My hips and shoulders turn to the right. I'm going to breathe in as I fill the balloon. And I'm going to exhale as I empty the balloon. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. I'll return my right hand to the hip so I can then focus on my left hand. So I'm going to start the same position from the top of the eight. But instead of going to the outside, it's now going to go to the inside towards the right shoulder. Then it's going to angle down towards the left hip and over to the right hip. And then angle up to the left shoulder. Body weight shifting over to the right leg. Body weight shifting over to the left leg. Breathing in as I rise. And exhaling as I sink. you're done, you can bring your hand back to your hip, come to a neutral stance, and shake it out. Now we're moving on to the brain teaser. So in this case, my right hand is going to be drawing this figure eight. My left hand is going to be drawing this figure eight. Here's a bonus tip. On any of these Tai Chi brain teasing exercises where you're combining shapes, it can be helpful to just stop and draw the shape with one hand, then draw it with the other. And just keep going back and forth until you get the exercise comfortable, and then try them both together and see what it feels like. You might figure it out on accident. So let's try this together. I'm moving out to my horse stance, so I've got really good power up and down. I'm going to start with both of my hands on top of the figure eight like I'm patting two children on the head. So in this case, my hands are going to cross to opposite shoulders and then angle down towards the same hips. Then they're going to cross to the opposite hips and then angle up to the same shoulders. Getting my body to follow along, I'm going to sink as my hands fall. I'm going to rise as my hands rise. With my breathing, I'm exhaling as I empty the balloon. Inhaling as I fill the balloon. The pattern I'm getting is a little bubble that I'm drawing at the bottom, and then another bubble that I'm drawing on top of it. Both of those bubbles are crossing right in the middle of my figure eight. When you're done, relax your hands on your hips, shake that out of your legs, shake it out of your brain. That's the thing I love about the brain teasers. It'll make your brain sweat as much as it'll make your body sweat.